Hey,
All right.
everybody, this is Matt Ferry,
This is Brandon Thomas.
and welcome to our live stream that we're doing today. Our COVID talk, or Candid COVID talk, as we like to call it. Today is May 1st. It's the day that the governor has said that he wants to open up the state, and I just watched a press conference.
May Day,
It's
right?
May Day.
Workers, international workers' rights, like
That's right.
it's how
And
fitting.
right, and a lot of workers groups and unions are saying don't go to some stores today. Um,
hmm
I'm all about that. I usually try to shop at mom and pop kind of places. I've been going to my favorite Mediterranean place recently, Al Rayyan, and it's great. They got everything there. It's like a little tiny
Okay.
market. They got toilet paper and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Also, Beckman's Pharmacy has been great. Um, they've got a little drive-through, and they have like gloves and sanitizer and Lysol. And anyway, I'm not here to talk about all that. What we're here to talk about is COVID talk. And today is May 1st, and it says 11,891 total cases and 204 deaths in Tennessee. That's according to their numbers, of course. We are pretty
hmm
certain that there's more people that have it in Tennessee. We know there's a lot of people who are asymptomatic who are not getting tested,
hmm
obviously. We also know that there's some people who are dying of pneumonia or heart attack or stroke. And this could have been caused by complications of COVID-19, but once they're dead, the impetus to test these people is kind of gone. The desire to test these people, it's not
Well,
really
well,
there.
also,
So
well, also the
anyway, I did watch the governor's press conference. It was mostly about the Trousdale prison
right.
outbreak. So they've had a 10% increase in COVID cases over the past day or so because this Trousdale prison has exploded. Um, so it's an interesting press conference, but basically, the governor 2 weeks ago said the storm is passing, and obviously it's not passing. Obviously, we still have a lot of problems, and he wants to reopen the state. What do you think about this?
Well, I have some serious problems with it if we're not doing it in the right way. I don't think just from I'm a layman, but just from what I've been seeing, now it's probably not the right time to reopen everything. I think we would like to see like a 2 week downward trajectory on
Mm-hmm.
on cases before we start saying okay, this thing is clearing up. Let's slowly start reopening things. Obviously, that's not happening. I think with the prisons, um, it's just kind of highlights again that we disappear people in prisons, right? And
Absolutely.
like this issue with prisons and people getting tested, being exposed to the coronavirus, has been happening all across the country. It's nothing new, and it's one of the populations that we forget about.
Yes.
We dehumanize these folks, and
Right.
um, okay, they've tested these people, they've quote unquote isolated them, right? That was one of the things. And then what, right? Are you going to release folks that are nonviolent offenders? Like, at
Mhm.
this point, we need to be figuring out ways how we can keep the prison population down, basically. Like shelter in place if they have a shelter in place at home somewhere, if they're not infected, just to make sure we're not spreading this virus in the prison system, because you have the guards that get sick too, right? They're
Right.
able to leave, go home, spread that to their family. So that's the thing too. They're talking about, oh, we have this contained with the prisoners, but people work at the prison,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and then it's not even talking about, he said all the prisons and jails in Tennessee, but he didn't specify about any of the private prisons. So that's
Mm.
something else that I was thinking in the back of my head. It's like, okay, all the state-run prisons got it, but what about the ones that are ran by the private prison industry? What are they
Right.
doing? Because like I said, I guess it's called, I think the technical term is called leakage. So it's like these people, like the guards, they're going to go home. and they're going to spread that to their family. And I don't think that was mentioned. You watched the whole press conference. I had to honestly set it down and go and walk away. What are
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they tried to downplay it like it wasn't a big deal, but obviously, you can't quarantine people inside this prison. It's not going to work. And you make a good point about the people that work at these prisons. There's already a shortage of people. They don't pay them enough to do it, so there's a shortage of workers. What's going to happen when they get sick? Um, so I mean, of course, the uh, the right thing to do would be to release, nonviolent offenders and similar folks.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's this whole mentality of these people are evil, lock them up and throw away the key. That's not helpful. Prison is supposed to. Well, the theory is that they're supposed to be rehabilitated into society, but really, we're not doing that at all with our prison system. And Mariah Phillips, she makes a good comment right here about the Bledsoe County Prison. That happened, I think, last week. There was a big increase in cases in Bledsoe County Prison to the point where the Chattanooga area was considered third in the nation for the highest increases.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
so, you know, she also says the rural county has the highest per capita infection rate due to the prison. So,
Oh, is this in the comment?
anyway,
Can you pin it up on so the folks can see what we're talking about here?
ah,
Do all the technical. There we go. There we go. Awesome.
so we got a couple comments here,
Okay,
but
awesome.
that's a really good point. Thank you, Mariah. We also have a comment from Mira, who is the president of the MTSU Democrats. Um, that's a really good question because, of course, can the state even dictate what happens?
Mm.
Meaning,
It
if
would
they're
probably it
private.
probably depend on the contract, right? So the state contracts with Core Civic, and
Right.
typically in these contracts, this is what's so devious. This is what kind of keeps that prison industrial complex going. Is that Core Civic, people like Core Civic, demand or require the state to lock up so many people,
Right.
and so that's part of the problem, right? And so yeah,
Hmm.
I would assume it's probably in the contract, where the state can step in and not step in.
Right. Well, if it's anything like similar contracts, concerning the landfill here and other things like state uh, contracts out, there's probably very little oversight
Hmm.
at all. So who knows what's really going on at those private prisons?
Right.
So that's a big concern.
Right.
Also, I wanted to talk about why our governor, and other governors want to reopen the state so fast.
Hmm.
It's basically because they want to kick people off of unemployment. They've had a
Yes.
huge increase in unemployment over the past month. And there was an article that came out recently, and it said that Tennessee's unemployment compensation fund, which failed for years to meet the minimum standards set by the federal government, could run out in just over 4 months. So, while our state is hoarding money with this rainy day fund, it's $1 billion rainy day fund, and it's pouring outside. They don't want to do anything. They want to still hold
Hmm.
on to it. For years,
Hmm.
we have been underfunding our unemployment compensation fund. And
Hmm.
now, I mean, it's going to lead to this situation where the governor's like, forget it. We need to open up the state. We need to kick these people off unemployment as soon as
Right.
possible. And it's going to unfortunately lead to more deaths that could have been prevented.
Right.
What do you think
Right.
about this?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah. It's really frustrating because one of the things that the folks we're running against always tout is, well, we have this big massive rainy day fund. We have it. Well, if it what is this? It's not raining, it's pouring. Like literally. So what is that money really for? Is it just a boast? Because we could infuse the unemployment fund if we really wanted to, if we had the leadership that recognized the seriousness of what this is, instead of trying to reopen things and make it hard for people basically to file unemployment, because they don't want to move the money where it needs to get moved to. We have the money for this in the state. We just do.
Right.
And it's really frustrating. It's aggravating. It should infuriate everybody, that there's money there, but they don't want to move it to the right bank account, to get dispersed out to the people that need it. It should be aggravating. It should be frustrating, and it should motivate people, to do something about the system itself.
Hmm.
The system, things are going the way they are because they were built that way on purpose, right? The
Right.
system was built to, prevent people from filing claims as easy as they can. We saw a couple of weeks ago, this is how when you're trying to report weekly, call on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday based on the last two digits of, your social security. Like,
Right.
okay, I guess, but like, it it's a system that was meant to be, frustrating, and now that they're getting all these complaints, all eyes are on the unemployment system in the state of Tennessee. They have to try to do something. They have to work some kind of magic instead of, funding it, getting the staff they need to get, and making sure, for the future, because this isn't going to be the last pandemic. It's just what it is. And we don't know how long this thing is going to be with us. We need to evaluate every single system, that we have, whether it's healthcare, whether it's unemployment, and reevaluate and see, what we can do to make it better, to create a family friendly economy that works for everybody, no exceptions.
Yes. Absolutely agree with that. And I mean, this COVID-19 is obviously highlighting the cracks in our system. What's been happening for years is, our leaders, our elected leaders, have wanted to throw money into pet projects or things that help them, or businesses that are friendly to them. But they want to cut the money that goes to the people. So, a good example of this, I was talking to someone about the secret slush fund that Governor or the Speaker of the House, Cassida, set up during his reign, his 1 year reign, when he passed that voucher bill. It was pretty much a fund. I think it was about $4 million, and it was unclear where all that money was going. But they did find that some money was going to some Christian organization in East Tennessee, in Matthew Hill's district, that really doesn't do anything else except help Matthew Hill. So,
Mm,
that's kind of what I think is the rainy day fund's purpose.
okay.
The rainy
Yeah.
days fund purpose is when the economy tanks, to help out their business friends, to help out Lee
Hmm.
Company, and to help out
That
Flying J, and
it rains on
Andy Farm's Pig Farm.
them. The
What's
money
that?
rains on them. The money
Yeah,
rains on
exactly.
them. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Andy Farm's pig farm, goes up, luckily he'll have a cushion. But the mom and pop stores around here, they're out of luck. So there's
Hmm.
something very wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree completely. I don't even think I could really add anything to that. Other than just it's wrong, and we need to help working class families in the state of Tennessee. And our state is not doing that. Our state is not expanding Medicaid. Our
Correct.
state is not creating an environment for workers. I don't know if you were on uh, the press conference, the virtual press conference for the uh, service workers in Nashville. They started a new organization, and they were just talking about some of the struggles that they have and some of their concerns that they have with being servers, being in the service industry, um, and reopening. About they don't have the benefits. We need to address that, right? They don't have the hazard pay, if you will, that they need, because this is going to be the new normal. And in Nashville, they're going to be reopening dine-in services. I don't know realistically if that even really kind of makes sense. Like, 'cause you can still do takeout, you can do the Grub Hubs and that, and get it still delivered to your house. The business, you know, I get that people want their people to sit in their business, and then they'll be more likely to spend more money, but
Right.
um like we got lives on the line, like you can convert a little bit and still make money. um and so that's what I think. And that was a really interesting conversation that they were having, and the plea that they were pleading to, actually, Mayor Cooper, I believe, specifically, since they don't have since the health department's not ran by the state. Their plea was directly to the mayor of Nashville.
Mm. Well, you make up some good points there, and there the storm is not passing, basically. And we just saw a nursing home in Murfreesboro got hit pretty hard by this.
Mhm.
And altogether, there's been about 191 cases, I think, or 200 in, well, more than that, in nursing homes in Tennessee now, and over
Mhm.
60 deaths. Um, so it's not time to reopen just yet. I've been volunteering with Murfreesboro Muslim Youth recently, and they've been doing a lot of deliveries to people for meals for needed people, and we've been operating out of the alley. And I went there yesterday and the day before, and they had people sitting outside only. Nobody could
Mhm.
come in. You had to sit on these picnic tables outside in their courtyard area. It's a nice little courtyard area. Um,
Uh-huh.
but customers have to sit outside, and all the workers had masks on. They all had gloves on, so they were trying to be as safe as possible with that. So I really like that. The alley on Main Street, they're owned by some really nice folks, and I think they're taking it really seriously. But I have seen reports of restaurants, and they're open, and
That's
they're really
crazy.
not taking that many precautions. And
I yeah, I think they have a
unfortunately,
response.
this could lead to a whole lot more cases. So Tennessee is very
Yeah.
vulnerable, and we're not taking this seriously, and we're not a part of a group of states. I don't know if you saw this recently, but since the federal government has had such just an inept response to this whole thing, um, there has been states that have gotten together to make these
Yes.
coalitions.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes. I've
there's
seen
there's
that.
one in the West, and then there's one in the Northeast, and now there's one in
Mhm.
the Midwest. And I noticed that Kentucky was a part of that group. And what they're doing
Mhm.
is they're negotiating with companies to get materials that are needed, like testing
Uh-huh.
kits and ventilators and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And of course, the power of the federal government is that they've got all this money, they've got all this power where they can do that. That's why you're supposed to rely on the federal government for these things. But
Right.
instead, what's happening right now is what the Republicans love, which is pitting states against each other, pitting states against the federal government to buy
Mhm.
these supplies.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that is just the worst of capitalism right there.
Right.
I
And you
think
and it's
that,
also,
yeah,
just to jump in, it's also to know when to reopen, right? So if you have
yeah.
states that are close to each other, you can just literally drive, 5 minutes and you're in a different state. You don't want one state or one area to be open, but another to be closed, because guess who's going to go to the place that's open, right? And so that spreads the virus, that spreads the contagion. And so they're getting together, coordinating, figuring out what they can do, figuring out. This is ridiculous that our federal government is basically giving all these supplies to corporations and not to states that need them. That's what's happening, and that's why these states are doing what you said.
Hmm. And what we saw with this small business loan, paycheck protection, paywall, I forgot what it's called, PPP. There's all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff that was passed in these COVID bills that are supposed
Right.
to help small businesses, but
Right.
instead it was like Roof's Chris Steakhouse and all these multi-million-dollar companies.
Right.
And so I mean, they're out there to make money right now off this pandemic,
Right.
and it is wrong. I mean, obviously, I shouldn't even say that that is a wrong thing to
Right.
do, but unfortunately, that is where we're living right now. And I think they're going to pass some more. But is there going to be any protection for that money. I know the Democrats in the House are pushing on some sort of safeguard, some sort of, enforcer that can look and make sure that this money's going to the right place. And I
Mhm.
know President Trump and Mitch McConnell and all them have said no to that. So, I mean, that's just going to create more fraud. That's just, fraud's the wrong word, but, it's going to
Yeah,
create
well,
more.
yeah, I think it's just being a good steward of of the money. Like that's what you're elected to do. Like if you are taxing people and then providing services, you need to be a good steward of that money. And if you don't have any oversight on where this money is going and if it really
Right,
needs to be going there, or even if it was just a genuine, oops, I this year I have tried to do something, implement a philosophy of like positive regard, like
okay,
just give people the benefit of the doubt, be charitable on like what could have happened. So with the money that went to some of these big corporations, like it may very well have been that it was advertised that any business could apply, right?
right,
And if that's the case, then that's on the lawmakers. That's on not having an oversight, or anybody that can actually distribute the money out and say, "Hey, wait, does this company really need this relief? Any of this relief money?" That is on the legislation, and that's on not having oversight. So yeah, that's my thing. I try, I think we need to be positive and not get so negative and, oh, it's because of XYZ. It may just very well have been, but it's still a problem and we still need
yes,
to do something about it.
right, absolutely. Well, you got anything else you want to say?
Well, I don't. So do we have any comments? Any
We
new
don't have any new
comments?
comments,
Okay.
but if anybody
Okay.
has a question that they want to ask in the last 5 minutes, please ask. But yeah, like I said, it's May 1st. The
Yeah.
state is technically reopening.
Yeah.
Maybe some counties are being phased in or whatnot, but obviously we don't have a plan for mass testing. We don't have a plan for tracing. So if someone gets it, who knows where they're going to get it. Um,
Mhm.
you know,
Well, I
I,
mean,
I think.
I will say they are trying to test more and more now. I know there is a testing that's been going on or going to go on, at the Kroger here in Smyrna. So there are opportunities to get tested.
Mhm.
It's kind of like it goes beyond that. Like what you were saying was like, okay, well then you got to trace. So if somebody is positive, who were they in contact with in the last week and a half, or whenever this incubation period is, right?
Right.
Yeah, so like you got to do that as well. It just can't be, oh, so and so was tested, so and so wasn't. It goes beyond that. Okay, they were tested, then what? Like it
Mhm.
comes back positive, then what?
Right.
And I don't think we have, at least I haven't seen, and we're running for office, like we have to be, we're consuming all this information. I haven't seen anything beyond, okay, I got tested, I was tested positive. um and what goes on beyond that. I've heard one story where they were testing. You have a couple living in the same house. One of them goes to get tested. They It comes back positive, but they don't test the other partner, and so that skews the numbers there. And then it's like,
Right.
okay, you know what I mean? And then so the partner didn't get tested. Some people live in denial and feel like, well, I'm not showing any symptoms, so I'm just going to go on about my day and go outside and be asymptomatic and spread it further. Um,
Right.
what beyond that, like what beyond the testing, where are we going? And I feel like, um, from local leadership, and by local leadership, I mean the governor,
Mhm.
we haven't had, well, even who I'm running against, we haven't had
Right.
any real leadership or any real dialogue on exactly what's next, what's the plan. You know, it, I think people are willing to hear the hard truth, so they
Mhm.
can plan their lives. I think what was the biggest mistake of this whole thing was to minimize it and act like it wasn't a big deal,
Right.
because people got anxious. People knew something was up.
Mhm.
People are not stupid. So
Mhm.
I think that is beyond testing. Then what? I think that's what we should all be asking.
Right. And we got the first case in the United States happened the same day as the first case in South Korea.
Right.
But they have managed to test and trace and be very aggressive with that. And I'm pretty certain that they're running on this no new cases kind of thing this week.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
they're used they had SARS-1 that happened that was really bad, and so they
right,
implemented this system. They kept it maintained. They do readiness, responses, and and so they we don't have that. We've had people in our government say, George Bush, Barack Obama say, hey, we need something in case this happens again, but it hasn't been maintained.
right.
That's the fault of whoever, I don't know, probably us collectively, right? Because we're all responsible somewhat for being involved. But it's a lot going on.
Hmm.
I guess just to round it all out to say that. And
Yeah,
then you got to think even with voting, what are we going to do about voting?
right,
Right? Like if this we're opening back up, so more likely than not, there's going to be a second wave coming in
right.
November. What are we going to do about that?
Well, hopefully we don't have a second, third, and fourth wave either. But
Yeah.
I know that the state legislature is supposed to come back in June, and what are they going to do then?
Right.
Um, hey, that second wave might come right then, so they might have to
Right.
close down again
Right.
and say, "Oh, we'll come back in September or whatever." But
Right.
when they had a chance to do something, they did not.
Right.
I'm thinking about the Democrats in the House and Senate were pushing for absentee ballot or mail-in ballots for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the Republicans said, no, 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 we can't do that. What we need to do is make less polling places, but bigger, have these
Yeah.
super sites.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
in an infectious disease pandemic, that is the opposite thing you want to do. I shouldn't have to say this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But, another thing is that, Governor Bill Lee, the big thing that he was really focused on during that time period was securing the $40 million for his tainted voucher bill that's not even going to be implemented for another 2 years. He sat up in the balcony while it happened to make sure that it happened.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't that
when it
isn't that
gets to the
creepy
end
to
of the
think?
day,
Isn't
you
that
know,
creepy to think about? Like
oh,
that's how like gangs in New York or whatever it is just like, like political boss, right? Like I'm watching y'all, like we've made these deals and I want to
yeah,
make sure you follow through on these deals. That's what that was about. Like that there was, if you had the FBI come and investigate a vote, right? Right.
right.
We forgot about that, like about this voucher thing, like, but yet they're still pushing it. And so that people should really question, why are they pushing this so hard, even when the FBI was like, something's not right here.
Right. And I wish I had faith that this investigation is going to lead to something, but we know that these legislators were promised, not money directly, but money to groups that support them, just like I was saying earlier with that
Mhm.
Matthew Hill
Or
organization.
projects in their districts. So
Yes, projects in their district.
yeah, yeah.
So, and we know there was a Democrat who was a colonel in the National Guard. They went up to him and said, "How would you like to be general?" So obviously that's wrong.
Yeah.
And like I said, I hope that this is investigated thoroughly and the correct action is taken. Unfortunately, I don't have that much faith um, in law enforcement in Tennessee. That's pretty much owned by Republicans. But um, you know, during this COVID-19, you knew that this problem was coming. You were about to shut down the legislature, and the biggest thing that was important to you, your focus was the $40 million for a voucher bill that takes public education dollars to subsidize, a rich kid's education. And I'm all about school choice, but that is wrong. And our
Right.
schools are already underfunded,
Right.
just
Well,
like our
they're
unemployment
underfunded.
compensation fund.
Yeah. And just to kind of button that up, we're running in Rutherford County. We don't have any failing schools in Rutherford County, and so we really need to ask our elected officials, why in the hell did you vote for that?
Right.
Like what was the reason? What did you get from that? What did you gain from that? Because I guarantee you they got some kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get too conspiracy theorist on that, but like it is what it is.
Hmm.
We have there's no logical reason the local school boards here are against vouchers. We
Right.
don't have any failing schools. We have a capacity issue. We
Right.
have a funding issue.
Hmm.
We don't have a failing school issue in
Right.
Rutherford County.
We can't build them fast enough. That's one of the problems that we have. But in Rutherford County, we actually spend less and get more out of our educational dollars than
Mm,
most counties. So that's great. But at the same time, we're not fully funding our public schools.
right.
Um, and there's other districts that are hit harder than that than others. But I went to a private school, and it wasn't the worst school in the world. But when I went to a public high school, I was really unprepared in certain areas. And
Hmm.
it took me a while to realize, wow, that was my previous education really did not set me up for that. So
Right.
I'm a full believer in public education. I know that some schools aren't perfect. I had some teachers even in college that I didn't quite like, and luckily I was able to get out of their class and get into a new class. So I mean, there's nothing perfect right there, but public education system in Tennessee and in America is has been one of the most important things in the world. And if we really care about our society, our communities, we would be investing a whole lot more money into them. So, anyway,
Yep. There you go. That's what you need to use. Just cut that clip out, run it as an ad. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, I got to run too. So I know, yeah, we're a little bit over.
okay,
Yeah. So folks, if you like our conversations, let us know. We'll try to do these weekly, I think is what we were talking about.
hmm
Go to votebrandonthomas.com. Please donate. Go to what is your
yeah,
website,
it's
Matt?
it's Matt Ferry TN 48. So 4TN 48
Okay.
FOR. So didn't make it simple for people. But if you just look up Matt Ferry State House, you'll find it online. Yes, please support our campaigns. We got a chance to win. We've got a chance to change the state house for the better, and we need it. And right now, this COVID-19 has really shown us that we need new leadership and all kinds of offices. So, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Brandon. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Talk.
Yeah.
We will
Thank you,
do this
everybody,
again.
for watching.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching and participating. And like Brandon said, we're going to do a lot more of these. So please stay tuned and get some questions for us next time too, because we're ready to answer any question you got for us. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, see ya.